exponential race to the top session of the day. And with me here in the studio, I have the CEO and co-founder of the Exponential Roadmap Initiative, Johan Falk.
To be here.
Great to have you with us, Johan.
Yes.
Exponential Roadmap Initiative gathers companies that are innovators, transformers, and disruptors in order to halve their emissions until 2030. And among your clients, you have big companies like Apple, IKEA, and Scania, just to mention a few, and also H2 Green Steel, the big new steel company coming up in Sweden. And all of these companies are working with you to meet the 1.5 climate target, of course. So Johan, what does it really mean to set a target, to set a strategy and take action in line with 1.5 degrees in your initiative?
Yeah, thanks for being here. Starting with the 1.5 ambition and what that means. Well, that is basically to keep global warming as close to 1.5 as possible. And to achieve that on a global level, we need to about halve emissions by 2030 in every decade, while protecting and restoring nature. So how do we translate that to business and company strategies? Well, the framework that we developed since the last 5 years is based on these 4 pillars. So for a company to be aligned with this 1.5 ambition, we mean that the company should cut its own emissions, about halving by 2030 towards net zero by latest 2040. But it should also cut its value chain emissions. It needs to work across the complete value chain. It's the second pillar. And the third pillar is also about scaling up the solutions, what we call the climate solutions, to transform its portfolio in a new direction to be aligned with the future. And the fourth pillar is about contributing to climate action in society. So when we are onboarding company to Exponential Roadmap Initiative, we assess all companies on all these 4 pillars, and we provide strong strategic recommendations to the companies how they can step up their strategies.
Thank you, Johan. And your work is all about scaling, exponentially scaling solutions. Why is that?
That's right. Already 2018, we published the first exponential roadmap, the first global exponential roadmap. And that showed that we do have the solutions to take us to the first halving if we implement them in parallel. You know, it's both about the energy transformation, it's about the material transformation, land and food transformation. It has to happen in parallel. It won't happen automatically. They need to be accelerated exponentially, and we do that through climate leadership, finance, technology, and policy. However, for companies, so far the focus has primarily been on the down curves, you know, how we cut emissions, setting science-based targets. We think it's now really essential that companies also set targets, plan, and actions on scaling up the solutions. As well, the up curves. And companies are really motivated by the up curves. And that is the reason why we're developing this climate solution framework together with Oxford and partnership with Race to Zero. We'll talk a bit more about that later today, so we can actually qualify climate solutions as well as climate solutions companies.
You talk about net zero value chains, and we'll be hearing more about this later on in this segment from Exponential Roadmap Initiative.
Yes.
Why are you focused on the net zero value chains, please?
I would say initially companies talked very much about setting halving targets, the net zero targets, and doing that based on their own strategy. But it's absolutely clear that you can't achieve that without working in partnership with your complete value chain. So that is the reason that we see basically all of our leading companies, like we heard from IKEA, from Apple, from Ericsson, and so on, are working across their value chains to really achieve this halving towards net zero. And just to give one example how you can think, Let's talk about personal mobility, how we basically move. How should we cut 90% of the emissions and the
massive.
nature impact? How should we do that? Well, of course, electrify all the vehicles. That's one part of it. But they also need to run on renewable energy. But that's not sufficient. They also need to be produced by circulated material, fossil-free material. But we don't stop there. We also need to share the vehicles, integrate them in mobility as a service. So that's a complete way of thinking.
It's a very holistic view of
Exactly.
thinking, yes.
Yes.
So you also talk about the exponential race to the top, which is the title of this session here. Why is that?
Obviously, we are in a climate emergency. So we need to have, of course, a laser focus on cutting emissions. But we will not succeed to cut emissions by just focus on cut emissions. We actually need to scale up the solutions to shift out the fossil economy. You know, the fixed phone didn't disappear because we wanted to get rid of the fixed phone. It was because we scaled up the mobile phones. So that is the reason why we need to shift these solutions curves to the left. And this is the tremendous opportunity both for businesses to be aligned with the future, to be able to grow and prosper, but also for regions, for cities, as well as for countries to build wealth and the new economy. So it's a tremendous opportunity. And we want to shift the narrative from sharing of burdens to this tremendous opportunity for all the actors. And that is what the exponential race to the top is about.
Well, thank you so much, Johan Falk, for joining us here in the studio. Thanks so much, and best of luck with your important work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To the stage here, Andrea Lindblom. She's head of communications at the Exponential Roadmap Initiative, and she'll be taking over and heading some of the sessions coming forward.